also known as Black Elements, consist of Delta Force, Dev Crew, 24th Special Tactics Squadron, Intelligence Support Activity,
Woo! Hell yeah. There you go. Right, y'all. Welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so we're doing another reaction video with Nikko Ortiz. Always a good time. So we're going to be checking out another video from General Discharge. This one's going to be a little bit more informative, I think. So this is going to be explaining the different tiers of U.S. Special Operations. So generally speaking, there's a lot of confusion. I think I know a little bit more about the tiers than most other people, but it can still get kind of confusing to explain to people. But hopefully this video does a pretty good job. I think General Discharge generally does some pretty good stuff. But yeah, I think it should be interesting to sort of explain and sort of shed light on the different tiers of special operations, because there's a lot of confusion as far as certain tiers, especially like once you start going from like tier 2 to tier 1, there's a lot of confusion. So hopefully this video helps. So let's check it out.
U.S. military units are broken down into 3 different tiers. Tiers 1, 2, and 3. Tier 3 units, also known as White Elements, consist of entities such as the U.S. Army's 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, Marine Corps Recon Battalions, Navy Riverines, Air Force 142nd Fighter Wing, etc. Tier 2 units
so I'll say this doesn't really help explain so much because tier 3 is very, very general. So if you go and try and compare Recon Marines to like this National Guard unit, the 142nd, they're probably going to get a little butthurt. So
it's a National fucking Guard unit. Here's the thing too, it's not mentioning all of tier 3 right here. Like tier 3 is all of the larger fucking like conventional like war fighting units and shit like that. So 10th Mountain's on here, yeah, 101st, 82nd. There's a bunch of other fucking units. So basically they're just trying to pull in like larger elements to make it fucking sound cool in this video.
Right.
But there's a lot of tier 3 units. Go ahead and fucking Google them. It's not just these 5.
Yeah, it's kind of just taking all these conventional combat sort of elements and then putting it on a tier so you can sort of start focusing it from there.
etc. Yes. Tier 2 units, also known as Gray Elements, consist of entities such as the Navy SEALs, Navy SWCS, Marine Raiders, Air Force Combat Controllers, PJs, Army Rangers, Army Special Forces, Night Stalkers.
Oh, no, so this is this is a good one. I'm gonna have to go Don't get caught up in the colors, guys. I don't know what the fuck that is, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I know in the intel community we use colors for very specific things.
Yeah.
Because it has to do with different operations, which maybe it could, from the intel's perspective, for me, it doesn't sound like that's really what they're talking about. But you have like white, gray, blah, 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 blah. If they want to say other shit in here, we'll talk on it. But different types of scaled operations for certain things. But tiers 1, 2, 3, fairly simple. They're hitting it really good. And guys, look at this. I don't think a lot of people in here know that. Yeah. So I want to know, let me know down in the comments, how many of you are surprised that Navy SEALs, it's going to be all the 5 and 7 girls,
there you go.
And how many of you are surprised that Special Forces and PJs and fucking everyone else is tier 2? I want to know how many of you thought that Special Forces and SEALs were on the same level as Ranger Battalion, because a lot of people don't think that. They think they're a step below. But we always talk about it. I'm like, everyone is spread out, man. I'm like, everyone has a different mission. They are all tier 2.
Right.
But I think this is good. What do you think? I think this is a good.
I do think it's good. We're definitely bringing in like some key players here. So also let us know if you guys are surprised by any of these or if you don't know some of these, because like the Night Stalkers aren't going to be totally popular with a lot of people.
So Night Stalkers over here on the right. So that's 160th SOAR. If we want to do the broad term, they fly helicopters for all of these people. Okay? They do a lot of aerial stuff, some intel stuff for all of these units. Okay. Then you've got Ranger Battalion. It's very broad. You'll find it in either one of our videos. We've talked about Ranger Battalion. So United States Air Force, like Combat Controller Party, JTACs, and like, you know, MacPs and like all that stuff.
Yeah, you'll see them hanging around with a lot of these guys as well. So these guys will intermix a lot.
Oh, that's actually that's actually a good point. Like I said, this Night Stalkers will support everybody. Rangers will not. But like he said, you know, United States Air Force, like the Combat Controller Party, will support all, you know, Ranger Battalion, not SWIC because they're like a supporter party too, but the SEALs, Raiders, and then Special Forces.
Yep.
Then we've got SWIC, which primarily just supports their boat. Don't get offended. Broad term.
Nice.
They're boat drivers. They're Navy SEALs who drive boats. That's what they are.
The badass Uber dudes.
Badass Uber dudes. They'll integrate with primarily SEAL teams. I know some of them integrated with like SF dudes and then MARSOC dudes. I don't know anybody that have integrated with Ranger Battalion guys.
Yeah.
Then what we got our good old Navy SEAls here, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking, you guys all know who they are.
Yeah. No introduction needed.
Raiders, bro. Yeah, go ahead and hit up your team over here, bro.
So I will say I know a lot of dudes who went Raiders, and it's literally like, so the Marine Corps, especially the Marine Corps infantry, everybody knows them. You just get a lot of crazy people together, super testosterone ridden, just all about violence, and you take the best of those guys and put them in a unit, and that's exactly what the Raiders is. Just hardcore dudes. Really, really cool dudes though. And then the PJs, I mean, the PJs will help other people too, like tier 3. They'll help them all the time. So
PJs are everywhere.
They are really solid people.
If you guys want to ask me who the most powerful fucking people are here on this tier 2 list, it's fucking PJs. And that's because PJs will directly support as well Special Forces, even though they have 18 Deltas. They'll directly support SEALs. They'll directly support, you know, Raiders. They directly support Ranger Battalion. And then they directly support, what you guys are going to see next, is tier 1 units. And it's because some of these fucking PJs, dude. These PJs are Special Forces, fucking Navy SEAL, Ranger Battalion. They literally hit the mark on everything, bro. And it's insane.
Yeah. And then, you got Green Berets, whatever.
Yeah.
Tier 1 units, also known as Black Elements, consist of Delta Force, Dev Crew, 24th Special Tactics Squadron, Intelligence Support Activity.
Woo!
Hell yeah. There you go. There it is.
Oh, shit, there it is. They did it. Y'all are going to learn some new shit today. Like, so they said Delta Force. Number fucking 1. Everyone's like, oh, SEAL Team 6, Navy SEAL. No, as y'all just found out, Navy SEALs are tier 2. Or here, let me stay in order. Yeah. So Delta Force, technically Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta. So Special Forces is tier 2, but they have a component, all right, that is tier 1.
Yep.
This is the easiest way for it to break it down. I know a lot of you are gonna fucking get upset about this, but based off of what I just said, it will also fall into literally all of these other units. And then feel free to correct me at any point in time. But what do you think? Do you think Delta Force is the tip of the spear for the entire United States fucking fighting functions and all of the above?
Well, so a lot of people, and you've seen, there's videos out there where they talk about these really, really special units. Some of them aren't really in play so much. They're not really a factor. But there are some really, really solid Delta guys that get up to their own things. And you'll sort of hear bits and pieces about that. So I don't know if I can say with the certainty that there's anyone that's technically better, like one specific unit. But there's definitely some hard-hitting guys that are really the tip of the spear. But yeah, you'll see Dev Crew, again, that's just part of the Navy SEALs. But the ISA, man, it's kind of cool how they threw them in here.
Man. Yeah, hey, this is something that I would love to dive into in the future. IS, technically it's not even ISA anymore. No, it is. No, it's really not.
Yeah, I don't know.
we're going to have to do a separate video on ISA, but
those
of you that don't know, those are your, like, spies. Those are the intelligence. If you guys have ever seen, like, Mile 22, the people who are in those computer chairs, like, analyzing all the computers, and they can see shit and all this stuff, that is how I would say ISA is. They're the CIA elite intelligence stuff for the tier 1 units.
Yeah.
That, like, ISA is ISA would murder all of these tier 1 units. Delta's at the back, but like if Delta came to that ladder, they die, but ISA is plotting on everybody.
Yeah, those guys are legit spooky.
Yeah, spooky as fuck.
We definitely have to do a video on them.
So Naval Special Warfare Development Group, that's SEAL Team 6. But then Navy SEALs across the board are tier 2. SEAL Team 6 is tier 1. Now, if we go over here to Special Tactics Squadron, you know how we talked about for the Air Force, there was like combat controllers, and then there's like PJs and like all that shit. That is basically Special Tactics Squadron. That's the Air Forces. It's all those dudes, that elite dudes in those groups put together, thrown in here. And that's a component. And then Ranger Battalion over here, there's a component inside of Ranger Battalion. Tier 2, that is a reconnaissance component, okay? Special, whatever, however you want to word it. But for those of you guys, the easiest way we can break it down is that all of these are special components inside of tier 2 that makes them tier 1 because they are so fucking high speed. And then like however you would like word that, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty hard to explain for people who don't really have military experience or don't really understand the tiers, but I'm sure he's going to go a little bit more in depth in trying to explain it. But yeah, these guys are like, you have the spearhead, these guys are just the tip of that. So
just the tip of it. Yep.
Yeah, just tip.
Well, what makes these units different? Why the different tiers? What's the difference between a tier 1 and tier 2 unit?
Mission
We're
to
here
pay.
to answer those questions.
Yeah,
if you want to know more about the 3 different tiers of the United States military, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Oh, we've just gotten into it and we've covered so much shit.
Yeah, I know.
We got to start doing these, dude. Goddamn.
Yeah. We won't disguise our voices either. No hate, though.
Before we dive in, we do have to say that outside of the tier 1 units, military units don't really refer to themselves by their numbered tier. You don't see Navy SEALs or Army Rangers referring to themselves as tier 2 units, nor would you ever catch the 82nd Airborne calling themselves a tier 3 unit.
Most don't even know that in the 82nd.
An unsaid or unwritten way of organizing or marginalizing.
Plus, they want you to think that they're tier 1 units.
In fact, you'll hardly ever see the use of these terms outside of the 5 tier 1 units that exist. And even then, you hardly hear about those either due to the nature of their classified missions and purposes. You might be surprised to find this out, but the different tiers generally have to do with funding. And it goes even deeper
there you go, you said it.
It has to do with funding per capita, or per person. In scenario 1, if you give a team of 100 people $100 million, that's $1 million a piece to gear them up for operations and missions. However, in scenario 2, if you give 10,000 people $100 million, that's only $10,000 a piece for each person. And you can do the math.
Interesting way of putting it.
Scenario 1's people will have some gnarly gear, and Scenario 2's people will have hand-me-downs in comparison.
Here's the thing,
You've probably heard the saying.
These people that are, remember, the reason they have that funding, though, is because they've gone through these insane selection processes.
Yeah.
So you got the best guys with the best gear because, you know, they're not going to quit because they're going to be on the best missions, if that makes sense. Once again, I'm just making it make sense.
They're very, very highly vetted. So, of course, you're not going to get people who don't know how to handle themselves and giving them a bunch of money because then it's not going to end up too well. It's not a good investment, you know. So you got to get these people that are really properly vetted, and they've just been around and done that. So, you know, they're good people.
And it's not also because the number, like they said, like there's 100 people here, and then there's like 100,000 people here. Like, no, it's because you have 100,000 people, and then you have, if we're being fair, you know, 100. They're quality people.
Yeah,
that's why the funding's going to them.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you pay for quality.
Follow the money.
100%.
Following the money works the same way in the military. Tier 1 units get the most money, which in turn gets them the best gear, resources, and the best people to work in the units.
And they don't need the best gear.
May be the main difference between the tiers.
Caveat.
Another difference is the level of skills and training. A tier 1 operator is going to be more trained up and capable of doing a lot more than someone from a tier 3 unit. The tier 1 operator most likely has several years in deployments under their belt with a tier 2 soft unit, making them the tip of the spear when it comes to being an operator. There is a clear distinction in training and capabilities when you look at a tier 1 unit versus a tier 3 unit.
If you're a SWAT officer, do not not call yourself an operator?
Or Army
okay,
they're no special operator, but they know how to fight.
I like that.
And depending on the experience of the individual, they may have a lot of combat experience. Some infantrymen can even become snipers, go to ranger school, and they still have plenty of fulfilling career opportunities if the stars align for them. Compare these guys to a Delta Force operator, though, which could very well be a Green Beret with years and years of experience going through multiple strict selection processes. And we're sure you can see the difference. But the lines are blurred a little bit when you compare Tier 1 to Tier 2. Tier 2 soft operators are still highly capable warriors in the battlefield, and should not be mistaken to be completely inferior to every aspect of a Tier 1 operator. Tiers 1 and 2 have a lot of overlap in their skill sets. To elaborate a bit
more. So that's a weird...
Inferior, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I will say, generally speaking, those guys are in their position because of, you know, how fit they are, how knowledgeable they are, how mature they are, and everything. Of course, there might be some really solid just dudes in conventional infantry units that could probably stack up with one dude that's in like a Tier 1. But generally speaking, the ratio is just not there. So,
dude, it's the fucking legit 1%. And then here's the other thing too, is like, I'm sorry. I wish we could just take like 5 days to describe to you the shit that happens in that Tier 1 world. But dude, the reason they're Tier 1 as well is because like when you have those Tier 2 operators who are like thinking about making the leap to Tier 1, family gone, lifestyle gone.
Yes.
I'm not. If you guys meet these people in person, like Delta operators, like they might seem cool, normal, but like they had to quite literally sacrifice everything. You're committed to that. That is your lifestyle at this point.
Yeah. They're 100% in it.
They're 100% in it, and they're not questioning about, you know, whether they're willing to die for their country over their wife. They prefer the country,
right?
And over their kids and their wife. That's why they're there. But guess what? That's why we fucking need them, because there's people like myself. Yeah, I would like to say I would do something like that, but like when you like, you know, come into like face to face with things like that, let's be honest. Would I, if I had like a daughter and a wife and a family, and I said, hey, we need you for this war, come fight. Why doesn't everybody fucking enlist and do that then when wars are popping off? Like, dude, it's next level shit.
Right. That's a good point for sure.
More. Tier 1 units, like Delta Force and DevGru, typically pull from the best of the Tier 2 units, such as the Green Berets, Rangers, and SEALs. While it can be argued that Tier 1 units are more capable and equipped than Tier 2 units, they can't just be boiled down to being better. They have a more intense mission set, they have different objectives, and they serve different purposes. So, a quick recap before we move on. Tier 1 units compose of the best of the Tier 2 units. Tier 2 units consist of soft operators from your typical soft units. And then Tier 3 units are considered as large and conventional warfare units.
Yes,
now that you have a basic grasp of understanding of the 3 tiers, you're probably asking, do you have to move up the tier system? Do you have to go from Tier 3 to Tier 2 to Tier 1? Not really. You could very well find yourself in a Tier 3 unit, try out for a soft force, and be in a Tier 2 unit, and then further down your career, find yourself in a Tier 1 unit. You could join off the bat into a Tier 2 unit and make your way into a Tier 1 unit, or you could jump from a Tier 3 unit into a Tier 1 unit.
Hard.
Delta Force has been known
to very hard. You need to be a stud or really have impressed someone. But it is a good point. So a lot of people will be like, hey, how do I go from being a civilian to going straight into like DevGru or Delta? It's probably not going to happen.
No, unless that won't happen.
Yeah, so it's okay to do some of like the slower speed stuff at first and then move your way up. You're going to want to get that experience in the first place. You're not going to want to go from being a civilian to going to Tier 1. Unless you're like, you've literally been trained by them from birth, like a Spartan.
Yeah, dude. Oh, like the majority, the only few ways I've seen people go from Tier 3 to Tier 1 is like in 2 instances. They've been Tier 3 for a few years. And so maybe in the future we should sit down and talk about this, because I have emails. So I'm not fucking bragging about shit. Everybody gets this. So when you have a couple deployments and like all this other shit, depending on where you're at and like your MOS and shit, sometimes you get these emails and it's from, even though they're supposed to be super secret, from Delta as a broad term. First 1st Special Forces Group, Operational Detachment Delta, will send out a mass email to all. You have to be E5 and above with like a certain time in service, okay? And you'll get this email and they'll be like, hey, you know, there will be a recruiter here on this day. We'd love for you to come and check it out. These are the prerequisites. So I got this email one day. I was like, oh my God, bro, I'm the fucking best. And then, like, you know, a couple people were like, oh yeah, I got it too. Some couple other high speeds and you got it too. And I was like, okay. And I did my research. It's a very broad thing. So you can get the paperwork. You can go and actually quite literally go this selection process where they try out, but it's not like Delta tryouts. It's a like tryout thing, then there's like another thing, then there's like, you know, so on and so forth. I wouldn't know that part and beyond because I haven't gotten there. But I know a lot of people who gotten those emails. I know 2 people who gotten those emails and they're doing their thing right now. And I can't speak on that because goddamn Delta is like the one unit I know where everyone just shuts the fuck up and doesn't talk about anything unless you're one of the boys.
Right.
And then the other ones is I know Ranger Bat dudes who will be going through RASP and then, or no, it wasn't RASP, SFAS, and then one got pulled up to go for tryouts midway through for the unit. And I was like, holy fuck. And now he's doing cool guy shit. But yeah.
I know one instance where there was someone who was supporting a tier 1 unit from a tier 3 sort of, I guess, assignment, and they got pulled over because they really liked what they were seeing. So I've seen that one time. That's probably super, super rare. So yeah, I guess it does happen.
Personnel from conventional forces on rare occasions. As
right
a matter
person
of
for the
rule,
job.
However, you typically need extensive experience in a tier 2 soft unit before you're able to try out or be recruited into a tier 1 unit. You really only see people getting recruited straight into a tier 1 unit in the movies. So don't think that SEAL Team 6 is going to come knocking on your door
100%.
because you're interested. What is true, however, is that it is much easier to join a tier 3 unit as compared to a tier 2 unit. Tier 3 unit selection processes aren't as grueling as tier 2 units are, because tier 3 units need the people, and they are different entities with different goals altogether.
Then he kind of hyping it up. Let's go.
Want to meet people who are qualified and able to do the job. Navy SEALs aren't looking for numbers like the 101st Airborne Division is. A shared component of the 3 tiers is their need and use of support personnel. While support personnel might not be doing the coolest job out there, they are a necessity and highly relied on. SEALs can get the job done without their support personnel just as much as Delta Force or MARSOC can't. Not everyone can be an operator, but operators can't do everything. Support personnel can be pulled from conventional forces into roles for tiers 1, 2, and even 3. While the roles and specific jobs of support personnel widely vary,
I know, it's got everything.
Areas such as logistics.
Is this even Army, U.S. Army, or is this like?
There's plenty of other ones.
I feel like this is like the SAS or some shit.
And DevGroup. So if you're interested in working with one of these units, but you're not interested in being an operator, there's a role you can play. Operators aren't any better than their support personnel. Again, it all comes down to a different purpose. With that said, we've done plenty of videos discussing tier 1 and tier 2 units. On screen are the videos we've done on the tier 1 units. On screen are the tier 2 units. As you can see, we've covered a lot on this channel. Go give them a look. The learning never stops at General Discharge. And before you go, we've partnered with a few businesses to give you some decent discounts on a variety of...
Sorry, what happened? Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that was a good point. What he said about the numbers is you're not going to need a bunch of people in these specific units. You want really small group, a tight group of guys. If you have like a bunch of people, it just gets muddled. The funding doesn't get, you know, dispersed as much. So you want to get a small group of quality people. So I think it's important that he's saying you're not going to take all of these people in. Tier 3 need more people because they have larger missions, while tier 1 are more spearheaded to specific things. So it was a good point. He had a lot of good points, and I think he did a pretty good job of explaining the differences.
It was, and it was very, actually, it was simplified like really, really, really well. I would love to know what everybody like. I would love to know who didn't know what units existed, because I know all of y'all basically break it down to Navy SEALs and Special Forces. Like that's really it. People don't know. They like know Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6, and Special Forces.
Right.
But as y'all can see, like there are some like to y'all right now, it might be like there are some like spooky people out there that y'all don't hear about every day that will just dominate those like other like, you know, branches and stuff like that.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted. There's definitely some people that aren't going to be in videos because we're just not going to know about them. So it is kind of cool. Yeah. It's cool to learn about these guys, especially for people who are trying to join the military. Because again, it really depends on what you're trying to do, but it's totally okay to go and do some of the dirty work before you go into some of the sexier stuff. It's not going to be that fun going from, you know, something to where you need to be super relied upon and you don't really know what you're doing. They're not going to do it like that.
Yeah, and a lot of places won't take you until they say you can try out. Trying out means, you know, sending in a packet. Right. And they won't take you unless you meet a lot of the prerequisites, like, you know, 2 deployments, E5 and above, and like all these other things. But yeah, like you said, like I hope this is a good video, and I think it might, you know, spark a flame in like some of the people who didn't know what type of shit was out there, and like, hey, you can go above and beyond. There's stuff beyond what you think is out there, especially in the intel community. The fact that they mentioned ISA was very cool, because y'all can look that up right now. You ain't gonna find no live video. You ain't gonna find a single one.
That's probably why a lot of people haven't heard about them. Yeah, it was cool that they threw them in there. I wasn't expecting that. But you'll see this with other militaries too. For example, like the British military, you have the Royal Marine Commandos, which are like, I would say probably equivalent to Tier 2. But then you have the Special Boat Service, which pulls from the Royal Marine Commandos. So you have a bunch of, you sort of see this mirrored. It's not like unique to the U.S. as far as having like this sort of tier list and selectiveness. But yeah, good video.
And then let us know down below in the comments if you guys want us to cover like some of these like individually, because I'd love to dive into some of them and spread some more knowledge to all of you. And I know you'd like to as well.
Yeah, especially the ISA.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Let us know and ask us questions down below in the comments.
Yeah, for sure.